Troy Donahue names the gay two actors of old Hollywood. He dated in secret. Troy Donahue was born Merle Johnson, Jr. on January 27, 1936, in New York City. Raised in a privileged background, his father was a corporate executive and his mother a stage actress. Donahue was drawn to the performing arts early on. He studied journalism at Columbia University but was soon lured westward by the call of Hollywood. Donahue's breakthrough came in the late 1950s when he was signed by Warner Brothers, who gave him the stage name Troy Donahue, an identity that would soon be emblazoned across movie marquees and teen magazine covers nationwide. His breakout role came with A Summer Place, 1959, where he starred opposite Sandra Dee in a melodramatic tale of young love and generational conflict. The film was a commercial sensation, and Donahue's dreamy, gentle persona as the sensitive romantic lead made him an instant heartthrob. His character's relationship with Dee's character, set against a backdrop of parental disapproval and emotional turbulence, struck a chord with young audiences, and the theme song became as much a part of pop culture as Donahue himself. Throughout the early 1960s, Donahue's star continued to rise. He appeared in a string of successful films, including Parish, 1961, Susan Slade, 1961, Rome Adventure, 1962, and Palm Springs Weekend, 1963. These films often cast him in the role of the noble, soft-spoken romantic figure, sometimes troubled, always desirable. His on-screen persona aligned perfectly with the cultural image of the ideal young man during the Kennedy-era optimism of pre-Vietnam America. At his peak, Donahue received more fan mail than nearly any other actor on the Warner Brothers lot, and he was frequently featured in Photoplay, Teen Beat, and other fan magazines that helped cement his place in popular culture. However, fame proved difficult to sustain. As the cultural landscape shifted in the late 1960s with the rise of more socially conscious and gritty filmmaking, Donahue's clean-cut image began to feel outdated. Hollywood began embracing a new breed of anti-hero and more complex, troubled characters, roles that clashed with Donahue's established screen image. Offers slowed, and his popularity began to wane. He struggled to redefine himself professionally and personally during a time of massive upheaval in the entertainment industry. The pressures of stardom, combined with personal challenges, led to a decline in both his career and his well-being. Behind the glamour, Donahue faced significant personal demons. He battled alcoholism and financial instability during much of the 1970s and 1980s. There were periods when he was homeless and living out of his car, a sobering reminder of the fickleness of fame. Yet through it all, he remained candid about his struggles, eventually achieving sobriety and turning his life around. Donahue began attending Alcoholics Anonymous and found a renewed sense of purpose and peace. His honesty about his journey earned him admiration and respect, particularly from fans who had once idolized him as a teen heartthrob and now saw him as a survivor. In later years, Donahue experienced a modest career resurgence. He appeared in guest roles on television shows like The Love Boat, Chips, and even had a tongue-in-cheek cameo in Crybaby, 1990, John Waters' satirical ode to the 1950s. These appearances allowed Donahue to re-embrace his past with a sense of humor and dignity. He also remained a popular guest at nostalgia conventions, where he greeted generations of fans, many of whom shared stories of how his films had touched their lives. His enduring charm, self-deprecating wit, and humility in the face of adversity only added to his legacy as not just a matinee idol, but as a genuinely likable human being. Troy Donahue, one of the most iconic matinee idols of the late 1950s and early 1960s, lived a life that was as complex off-screen as it was glamorous on-screen. Known for his striking good looks and brooding presence in romantic dramas, Donahue's personal life included 4 marriages and several significant relationships, each reflecting a different chapter of his tumultuous journey through fame, addiction, recovery, and reinvention. His first and most publicized marriage was to actress Suzanne Pleshette, best known for her later work on television, including her role on The Bob Newhart Show. The two rising stars met while working together on the 1964 film Rome Adventure, and their chemistry was palpable both on and off the screen. Their whirlwind romance culminated in a marriage in January 1964, but the union was short-lived. Within just 9 months, the couple divorced, citing irreconcilable differences. Despite the brevity of their marriage, their relationship captured significant media attention at the time and remains one of the more talked-about aspects of Donahue's private life. It is widely speculated that the pressures of Hollywood, career ambitions, and Donahue's deepening personal struggles contributed to the breakdown of the relationship. Before marrying Pleshette, Donahue had been involved with Lily Cardell, a Swedish-American actress and model. Their relationship ended in scandal when Cardell filed a lawsuit against Donahue, claiming he had physically assaulted her during their engagement. She sued him for damages, which made headlines and dented the clean-cut image that studios had carefully crafted for Donahue. The incident, while not resulting in a criminal conviction, added fuel to rumors about Donahue's increasing instability and struggles with anger and alcohol, which would continue to haunt him for years. Donahue's second attempt at marriage came on October 21, 1966, when he wed actress Valerie Allen, who had appeared in various television and film roles throughout the 1960s. Initially, the marriage seemed to represent a fresh start for Donahue, who was attempting to stabilize his personal life and reclaim his professional footing. However, behind closed doors, tensions quickly escalated. In 1968, just 2 years after their nuptials, Allen filed for divorce, citing cruelty as the primary reason. While specifics were not publicly detailed, the divorce proceedings hinted at a troubled domestic environment, possibly exacerbated by Donahue's continued battles with addiction and erratic behavior during this period. His third marriage was to Alma Sharp, a woman outside the entertainment industry who worked as an executive secretary. Their union began on November 15, 1969, a time when Donahue was already beginning to retreat from the limelight, having seen his star wane by the early 1970s. Sharp was described as someone who offered Donahue a semblance of normalcy and grounding, something he desperately needed amid his fading fame and increasing personal problems. Unfortunately, even this relatively private and grounded relationship could not withstand the pressures they faced. The marriage lasted 3 years, ending in divorce in 1972. Friends noted that Donahue's ongoing substance abuse issues and difficulty adapting to life outside of Hollywood's spotlight likely played a significant role in the dissolution of their marriage. Donahue's fourth and final marriage was to Vicki Taylor, and it spanned from 1979 to 1981. By this time, Donahue had become somewhat of a reclusive figure, making only sporadic appearances in film and television. While not much is publicly known about Taylor or the details of their relationship, it is understood that their marriage, like his previous ones, was plagued by instability and emotional distance. Their time together was brief, and they divorced after 2 years. The repeated pattern of short-lived marriages and emotional turbulence became a hallmark of Donahue's troubled personal life. In his later years, after decades of struggling with alcohol, financial hardship, and fading fame, Donahue found what many believed to be a more stabilizing and affectionate relationship with Zheng Cao, a Chinese-American mezzo-soprano opera singer known for her commanding stage presence and rich voice. The relationship, though not officially formalized in marriage, was considered deeply meaningful to Donahue. Those close to him said that Zheng brought peace, love, and a sense of companionship to Donahue's final chapter. Their connection appeared to be a departure from the tumult of his earlier relationships, offering him a supportive presence as he faced declining health and the emotional residue of a turbulent past. Donahue also had a son named Sean, whom he fathered with a woman he had a brief relationship with in 1969. For many years, Donahue was unaware of Sean's existence. It wasn't until later in life, when Sean was already an adult, that Donahue learned of his paternity and met his son. The reunion reportedly had a significant emotional impact on the actor, who had long expressed regret over many aspects of his personal life. Connecting with Sean gave him a sense of legacy and a chance to make amends, even if belatedly, for a lifetime of personal missteps and missed opportunities. In the twilight years of his life, Troy Donahue, once a golden-haired heartthrob of 1950s and 1960s cinema, began to open up about deeply personal chapters of his past that had remained hidden during his career heyday. While Donahue had always been associated with the wholesome, clean-cut romantic roles that typified teen idols of the era, there was an inner complexity and duality in his private life that never reached the public eye. Until much later. Among the most startling revelations was his confession that he had been romantically involved with several gay actors of old Hollywood, relationships kept entirely under wraps due to the stifling atmosphere of the era and the career-ending consequences that could arise from being outed. In rare and hushed interviews conducted in the 1990s, as Hollywood began to reckon with its history of silence around LGBTQ+ identity, Donahue candidly admitted that he had, in fact, dated men during his youth, some of whom were major stars with massive fan followings. It was the 50s. You could lose everything, he reportedly said. Studios controlled your image. They would destroy you if you were found out. One name that Donahue allegedly mentioned, with both admiration and sadness, was Anthony Perkins, the enigmatic star best known for his chilling portrayal of Norman Bates in Psycho. According to Donahue, his relationship with Perkins was both passionate and fraught with secrecy. The two met at a Hollywood party in the late 1950s, when both were rising stars in the industry. Donahue was the handsome beach blonde being groomed by Warner Brothers as a matinee idol, while Perkins was already earning accolades for his brooding intensity and sensitive portrayals. Their chemistry was instant, but they were both keenly aware of the limitations imposed by their studio contracts and public personas. We could never go out in public together. We had to pretend, always pretend, Donahue is quoted as saying. We'd meet at the homes of trusted friends or drive out to the coast late at night and just sit in the car talking or listening to the waves. There was a gentleness to him. He understood what it was to live behind a mask. Donahue also hinted at a complicated dalliance with Rock Hudson, the square-jawed idol who was, at the time, the very embodiment of rugged heterosexual masculinity on screen. While Donahue never confirmed a long-term relationship with Hudson, he did recall moments of electric tension and mutual understanding. Rock had it harder than most of us, Donahue said. He was bigger than life. If he slipped up, the whole house of cards would fall. But there were times, just quiet, fleeting times, where we shared something no one else could see. We were men who were supposed to be everything America dreamed of, and we were so afraid of losing it all. These revelations were not made for shock value. Rather, they were an attempt by Donahue, whose later life was marked by struggle, reflection, and recovery, to reclaim a part of himself that had been buried for decades. His openness provided a rare, poignant glimpse into the private lives of Hollywood's closeted actors, men who were forced to sacrifice their authenticity for the sake of maintaining an image the studios and the public demanded. Donahue's stories are not only a testament to the deeply human need for connection, but also an indictment of a system that punished vulnerability and difference. By naming names like Anthony Perkins and Rock Hudson, figures who themselves wrestled privately with their identities, Donahue was not betraying a trust, but rather honoring the truth of a generation that had been denied the freedom to live openly. His confessions serve as a bridge between the glamour of Hollywood's golden age and the long-overdue reckoning with its culture of silence. On August 30th, 2001, Troy Donahue, the once golden boy of 1950s and 1960s Hollywood, suffered a massive heart attack that would ultimately mark the beginning of the end of his life. The incident occurred while he was at his apartment in Santa Monica, California, a coastal city he had long called home. Despite his well-documented struggles with substance abuse earlier in life, Donahue had been living quietly and soberly for several years by this time, having committed himself to recovery and a more reflective lifestyle. Those close to him described him as being in relatively good spirits and optimistic about future acting projects, even if his health had shown signs of decline in recent months. Upon suffering the heart attack, Donahue was rushed to St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, a well-regarded facility known for treating numerous celebrities and prominent figures in the entertainment industry. Once admitted, he was immediately evaluated by a team of cardiac specialists. His condition was deemed critical, prompting the decision to perform an emergency angioplasty, a procedure in which blocked arteries are opened to restore normal blood flow to the heart. The procedure itself was considered a success at first, and his doctors were cautiously hopeful. Friends and family were notified, and many believed he had overcome the worst. However, only hours after the angioplasty, Donahue suffered a devastating second heart attack. This second cardiac event significantly worsened his condition, and doctors made the urgent decision to conduct a coronary artery bypass surgery, a more invasive and complex procedure aimed at rerouting blood flow around clogged arteries. The surgery was performed on September 1st, just 2 days after the initial heart attack. Despite the best efforts of the skilled surgical team, Donahue's body was too weakened to recover from the cumulative strain of the 2 heart attacks and the subsequent surgery. On September 2, 2001, Troy Donahue passed away at the age of 65, surrounded by loved ones who had gathered at the hospital. His death marked the end of a turbulent yet fascinating journey through fame, addiction, reinvention, and spiritual searching. Though his star had dimmed from the dazzling heights of his early career, when he was considered one of Hollywood's most handsome and bankable leading men, his legacy as a cultural icon of a bygone era endured. The outpouring of condolences from fans and colleagues alike reflected the affection many still held for the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actor who once epitomized youthful innocence and romantic idealism on the silver